What's up, everyone? Welcome back. Patrick here. Moving on to the next question. So we have to find the value of each of these expressions here. So starting with number 1, we have 6 choose 4. Now, just in general, as a review, whenever you have m choose n, what's that equal to? Well, this is going to be m factorial over n factorial times m minus n factorial. Right, so we're going to do these using that, pretending that we don't have a calculator. So applying this to that, notice that the 6 is the m, the 4 is the n. We would end up with 6 factorial over 4 factorial. And then what's 6 minus 4? It's 2. So we'd have 2 factorial down here. Now, the 6 factorial, if we write that out, that would be what? 6 times 5 times 4 times 3 times 2 times 1. And then the 4 factorial is 4 times 3 times 2 times 1. Like that. And then the 2 factorial is 2 times 1. Now I'm not going to write it out like this for all of these, but for this first one, we'll do so just so you can see the general pattern. Now notice the 4 factorial, there's a 4 factorial here as well. We could cancel those out. Right? So another way we could have wrote 6 factorial is 6 times 5 times 4 factorial. Right? Because 4 factorial is the 4 times 3 times 2 times 1. And then the 4 factorials would cancel out. And we'd be left with 6 times 5 over 2 times 1, which would be 30 over 2, which would be 15. Right, so 15 is the answer for number 1. Now number 2, we have 9 choose 3, which would be 9 factorial over 3 factorial, and then 9 minus 3 is 6, so we'd have a 6 factorial down here. That's the m minus n factorial. Now, 9 factorial over 6 factorial, the 9 factorial we could change to 9 times 8 times 7 times 6 factorial, like that. Over the 3 factorial, let's leave that for now, and then we have the 6 factorial, and notice the 6 factorials cancel out. Now, what is the 3 factorial? We'll have 9 times 8 times 7. I'm going to leave these expanded. I'm not going to multiply them yet. And then we'll have the 3 times 2 times 1. That's what 3 factorial is. And then notice 3 goes into 9 3 times. 2 goes into 8 4 times. And now we're not left with anything in the denominator but 1s. So we could just multiply all the remaining numerators. 3 times 4 is 12, times 7 gives us 84. Right, so that's the final answer for number 2. Over here we have 10 choose 10. What's this going to be? Well, it's going to be 10 factorial over 10 factorial. And then what's 10 minus 10? That's just 0. Factorial. Now we know that 0 factorial, that's always equal to what in general? What's the rule there? That's always equal to 1. And so notice the 10 factorials cancel out. We're left with 1 over 1. And then 0 factorial is 1. So this is going to end up being 1. And in fact, just in general, whenever you have m, choose m, whenever these are the same, that's always going to equal 1. And then 5 choose 0, this is going to be what? 5 factorial over 0 factorial. And then 5 minus 0 is 5 factorial. Notice these cancel out. And so again, we're just left with 1. And so in general, the rule is whenever you have m choose 0, that's always going to equal 1 as well. All right, so you may want to write these rules down. So finally, number 5 is we have 8 choose 4, let me write it here. 8 choose 4 over 10 choose 2. So the 8 choose 4, that's going to be what? 8 factorial over 4 factorial, and then 8 minus 4 is 4. So we'll have 4 factorial here. And we're going to take this, and then we're dividing by 10 factorial over 2 factorial. 10 minus 2 is 8 factorial, like that. And so from here, we can simplify the 8 factorial over the 4 factorial. That can be what? 8 times 7 times 6 times 5 times 4 factorial, like that. And this is going to be over 4 factorial times 4 factorial. The reason why I wanted to put it like that is so the 4 factorials cancel out. Only one of them cancel out there. Right, so we're still going to have this divided by, now 10 factorial over 8 factorial, that's 10 times 9 times 8 factorial over the 2 factorial, and then we have 8 factorial. And then notice the 8 factorials cancel out. And so from here, if we simplify this 4 factorial, I'm actually going to change over here just to save some room. This remaining 4 factorial, what's that equal to? 4 times 3 times 2 times 1. And so notice we could do some simplification here. Notice 4 goes into 8 twice. 3 goes into 6 twice. And then notice this 2 and one of these 2's can cancel out. So this 2, and then let's cancel out with that 2. So what would we end up with? We'd have 2 times 7 times 5, which would give us 70. And then notice we have nothing left in the denominator but 1. So this would be 70 over 1, so we could just leave it as 70. Now over here, we'll have 10 times 9 over 2 factorial. Now the 2 factorial, that's 2 times 1. Notice 2 goes into 10 5 times. Then 5 times 9 is 45. So we'll have 70 over, or 70 divided by 45, which is like 70 over 45. Let's keep it as a fraction. So this whole thing was 70. This whole thing ended up being 45. And then simplifying this, notice we can divide the top, the numerator, by 5, which would give us, 14? And then 45 divided by 5 is 9. And this doesn't simplify any further. So 14 over 9 is the answer to number